friends, welcome to the next video. I'm glad to see you here. Today we're going to be doing part 11 of the KOTLC during COVID Wattpad series. And before we start, I just wanted to say, sorry if I haven't been posting that much. I've just been kind of busy lately, so yeah, let's get started with the video. Lost Dog, Lost Souls. Bianna Vacker. The friends met at Sophie's house the next Thursday to look for Iggy. They paired a split. Wait, what? They paired a split. Okay, Keith going with Tam and Sophie, Fitz going with Lynn, and Dex going with Bianna. Bianna thought for sure that Iggy would be near the closest food store, so she headed there. As soon as the two of them were out of earshot for the others, Bianna grabbed Dex's hand and pulled him into the alley between two houses. "Did you see what happened between Fitz and Lynn on Monday?" she asked, unable to hide her excitement. Dex blinked, and then a slow grin spread across his face. "Oh yeah," Fitz kissed Lynn. "Oh, our little shippers, okay." Bianna let out a giddy squeal and smiled. "I've been waiting forever for Fitz to get over his crush on Sophie." Dex smiled back, ruffling up his hair. "Yeah, it was kind of cute, honestly." He flushed and glanced at Bianna, as if unsure if she would agree. Bianna felt her heart skip as she realized she was still holding Dex's hands. She thought about letting go, but she decided against it. She'd only realized after she and Dex had started getting closer, when Keith, Fitz, and Sophie had been on a retreat, that she liked Dex. He was adorable how he tried to be funny, but didn't always succeed, or how he was almost as clumsy as Sophie. The way his dimples showed every time he smiled made Bianna's heart melt, and his periwinkle eyes flashed behind her eyelids every time she tried to sleep. Oh, that's a serious crush. She wanted to tell Dex how she felt as soon as she figured it out. She just wanted to wait for the right moment. This was the perfect moment. Bianna took Dex's other hand, smiling as he turned red, and said, "Dex, I like you. I've liked you since a couple years ago." She paused, waiting to see what he would say. He flushed deeper red and said, "Oh, I'm glad you like me, Bianna. I like you too?" Bianna laughed softly and leaned closer. Dex leaned back a moment before shoving his head forward, abruptly, and planting a kiss on Bianna's lips. It was short and sweet, and as soon as he pulled away, he was blushing all the way up to his ears. Oh, this is awkward. Bianna smiled at him and hooked her arm through his. "Come on then, let's go find Iggy." Sophie Foster. Sophie tugged out an eyelash for the trillionth time, oh boy, as she, Keith, and Tam headed to Keith's house. "He'll probably be there," Keith said for the millionth time. "I give him treats every time he passes on a walk." Tam rolled his eyes for the 1,000th time and said, "Keith, we don't care. Please stop repeating that before I explode." Sophie was too worried to laugh as Keith crossed his arms and they fell into an awkward silence. What if he got hit by a car, Sophie thought, or picked up by the pound because he lost his collar, or taken by another family, or drowned? What if he's stuck somewhere and can't get out? Round and round her thoughts went until they arrived at Keith's house. The newspaper on the porch was torn and there were muddy dog prints on the mat. Sophie ran up and touched the mud. "This is fresh!" she exclaimed, looking around frantically. Iggy, boy, you want a treat?" Keith whistled and called his name, clapping loudly. Tam looked at the two of them, then walked off in another direction, mumbling something under his breath. Keith watched him leave. "What's his problem?" he asked. "He's just too emo. Leave him alone." Sophie pulled out her phone and texted Fitz and Bianna. "We think Iggy's near Keith's house. Meet up halfway." Then she started walking around the back of the house. "What you doing?" Keith asked, catching up. Sophie looked for signs that Iggy might be here, but found nothing. She tugged out another eyelash that was definitely not loose and let out a deep breath. Keith stood in front of her, holding out his arms to block her path. "Foster, relax. He's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine, okay?" Sophie nodded, not really paying attention, and Keith started to reach for her hand. And then his arm dropped back to his side, halfway there, and he rolled his shoulders. "Let's go get Tam," Sophie said, leading him back onto the streets. The sound of excited yapping filled the air, and Sophie turned. Tam was holding Iggy by the scruff on top of Keith's porch. "Iggy!" Sophie exclaimed, rushing up and pulling the muddy, wet dog into a hug. She didn't even mind that he smelled like trash and dead animals. At least he was alive. "How did you find him?" Sophie asked Tam. He shrugged. "He was digging around in the trash cans of your neighbor's house. I just bribed him with some bologna and waited here until you guys came." Sophie stood up, keeping a hand on Iggy, and pulled Tam into a tight hug. "Thank you," she gushed. She turned to Keith, ignoring the hint of jealousy in his scowl, and said, "Tell everybody to meet up at my house, please. Could you get a leash too, or do you not have one?" Keith pulled out his phone, walking into his garage. "I have a rope, if that works." Sophie nodded and pulled Tam into another hug. "I'm sorry. I know you're not a touchy kind of person, but I'm so happy you found Iggy. Is there any way to repay you?" Tam shrugged, flushing slightly. Just a friend helping another friend." Soon, the three plus Iggy were walking to Sophie's house. Sophie asked Tam to show her how he'd gotten so good with animals, and he promised to invite her over that weekend. Once Iggy was back inside, Sophie and her friends sat on the porch, enjoying lemonade and cookies. Sophie noticed Dex and Bianna sitting closer than normal and resolved to ask the two of them about that later. Yes, tea. For the moment, she had her own relationship problems to deal with. She glanced over at where Keith was stuffing multiple cookies into his mouth, classic Keith, and attempting to wash it all down with lemonade. She picked up the rope that had been Iggy's collar and went over, tapping him on the shoulder. "We should get this back to your house," she said. Keith glanced around, swallowed, and then shrugged. "Okay, 1 second." He grabbed another cookie before following Sophie onto the street. "Can I come with you guys?" Tam asked. Sophie started to object, but then she glanced to where Fitz and Lynn were giggling together, and Dex and Bianna were holding hands and laughing. "Yeah, wouldn't want to leave you alone with these lovebirds." She smiled as Dex flushed and Bianna and Lynn turned pink. Fitz sighed and leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes. "You, Sophie, have horrible timing." Sophie smiled and grabbed Keith's and Tam's wrists. "I try," she sang, walking away. Keith laughed. "That was pretty funny, Foster," he admitted. Tam rolled his eyes. If Fitz starts getting all up in Lynn's business, I'm going to hunt him down and kill him." "Ooh, relax, dude, relax." Sophie raised an eyebrow. "Harsh much? What if Lynn likes him back?" Tam scowled. "Then I'll restrain myself to simply hurting." Oh, Tam is so overprotective. Oh my god. Tam's more hardcore than Grady. Truth, Keith whispered to Sophie. Sophie giggled as Tam glared at the both of them. "I have ears, you know." Sophie let go of her friend's wrists and took off running to Keith's house. "Bet I'll beat you both there." Tam was the first to start running, sprinting up behind Sophie with surprising speed. "What? Wait, no fair! You both had a head start," Keith complained, running up behind them. Sophie laughed breathlessly as Tam called over his shoulder. "Snoozers, losers." Neither noticed as a car sped down the road, music blaring. Neither had time to react as the driver slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. With a horrible thud and screech, Sophie and Tam never breathed again. "Excuse me, what?" "What? That was really quick. Excuse me. Huh?" Wow, okay. Poor Keith. She never resolved her relationship. They never resolved their relationship problems, and then Sophie just died. Excuse me, what? Okay. Well, that's the end for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe and click the bell button to get notified when I post new videos, and happy watching. Also, I've done a double upload today. I have posted a character analysis on Catra from She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. So, if you watch that show, you should go ahead and click it. And bye!